Pigeons 420. Mr. Grow It. And Rob from Cannabis Lifestyle TV. From the Stash Podcast.
Hey, what's up, guys? Do you want to get your hands on the latest From the Stash merch? Check the links below, get the From the Stash store, and go check to see the latest drop. We appreciate all the support, as always, and we will check you in the next epi.
Thanks to Ventana Plant Science for sponsoring this episode. I started using their bottle Flavor in my garden. Flavor can be added to any nutrient lineup. Studies have shown an increased yield of 14%, and also increased terpenes from 1.1 to 2.4%. Flavor is an all-natural polymer that holds nutrients in solution. It also prevents precipitance of nutrients and increases nutrient uptake. Flavor is available on growershouse.com. I'll provide a link in the description section below, and you could use coupon code THESTASH for a discount.
AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. From tents to controllers, AC Infinity can take your garden to the next level. The inline fans lead the pack with the ability to control all aspects of the equipment, along with the clip-on oscillating fan that changed the game, which all can be controlled with the Controller 69. Whether you're looking for individual pieces for your current grow, or you're trying to set up something completely new with one of their grow kits, AC Infinity has you covered from top to bottom. Use discount code THESTASH15 at checkout to save some money on your order.
So, people were wondering, talking something trippy. Chris did dropped a little out there, and I think it's a good reason to do that, because we actually are going to talk a little bit today about organics, and not the kind for growing. Well, I guess maybe kind for growing, but more of, we'll just say, kind of like oyster mushrooms, but different, if you catch my drift. But a few of us have experience with it, some a little more than others, some different reasons than others. I think it's a good conversation to have, because it is along the same line, of herb that we've been using for a long time, whether it's medicinally or recreationally, and even the fact of the stigma that's behind it. I think it's very similar. And then now how we're finding medicinal uses, coincidentally, another similarity. So it's like they're in the family, they're in the group together, even though we've been pushed away and pushed into class 1 or schedule 1 narcotics. It seems like in a different sense, that's not where we are. We're in this nice organic mental spiritual area. So I think we should touch on that a little bit, boys.
I think it's a good, great topic of conversation. I've been experimenting with the onions, I don't know, since I was I'm running with it. Since, I don't know, I think I was like 16 the first time I had a good quality onion trip. And man, it was at that moment that I realized I fucked up. No, I'm just kidding. I was seeing all kinds of shit, but no, I for the first time I realized that it's like you can have an experience outside of yourself, and not only can you kind of like enjoy that, but you can kind of like critique and almost like have a outer body, I don't know, perspective, and you can kind of analyze your actions and your thoughts and your relationships in a way that I just don't feel like you can do when you're not experiencing these kind of effects. So it's like I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for these moments of clarity that I was afforded during these dosages. So I think it can help a lot of people. A lot of mental gymnastics there to try to convey my opinion without saying too much. You know what I mean?
I'll say we're going to call it organics, okay? And again, it's not the kind you grow, but we'll just say the Super Marios are going to be referred to as organics. It's like when you look at a contract and it says going throughout the rest of this contract, it'll say company, referred to as company.
Yeah.
Organics. You guys
organics.
Get it. You get it. So
You're going to confuse the shit out of some people.
Those are the people not watching today's epi.
It may. So with those, for me, it was recreational 100% when I was a kid. That's the only reason I ever dealt with it. I thought it was just fun.
Kid.
I mean, I keep saying, you corrected me earlier. When I was a teenager, so I was still a kid. I was young. I was like 3.5.
From the nipple to the organics, baby.
Immediately. No, but the first time I was like, I think 13. No, I was 12. My uncle and I stumbled on looking for some reefer, and we found these other things instead, and I thought it was pork rinds. I was like, what the fuck is that? Is that a pork rind? It's nasty looking. I was like, I don't want that. We smelled it. It smelled like dirt. My uncle's like, dude, you know what this is? It's like, what? It was like acid. I was like, what?
Poor
Like,
man's acid.
I was just so like, what? Like, move my hand away, thinking I'm getting burnt. Like, what the fuck is going on? He had the right idea, wrong thing, we'll say, and didn't burn my hand, thank God. Nothing that's disintegrated. But it's the first time I tried it, and it was just me partying. I just I felt really loose. I felt like I smoked like 100 joints and drank a little bit, but then also like I'd make myself laugh in my head, and I'd have like a conscious conversation with myself. So we were pretty deep in it, but it wasn't used to enhance my experience at all. It was just like, "Man, fuck it, let's try it, let's see what it does." And from there to like 17, it was the same thing. It's like, let's party, let's take 4Gs, let's have fun. It's like, yeah, but I don't really feel like that's what it's meant to do. Yeah, you can do almost anything recreationally, but there was other areas that I didn't see that was more of a medicinal side. And that's what I started focusing on more, especially when I was more of an asshole when I was like 15 or 16. When's the first time you guys experienced it?
For me, well, I've probably done it about 2, maybe 3 dozen times, allegedly.
Allegedly.
The first time I was probably 14, either 14 or 15. Me and a buddy of mine went to a friend's house who had it, but it was actually from his parents. So his parents were actually taking care of us in that way. My first time ever, it was kind of mind blowing because like 14 years old and the parents are feeding the kids, so it's like that blew my mind. But we ended up getting it. I think we did like 1 gram each. And then it was, I remember going back to my buddy's place. He had like this loft area, which was kind of separate from where like his parents, on the opposite side of the house from where his parents' bedroom was. So we could be like pretty loud and whatever. And we had an ounce of Orange Crush as well. And I remember this exactly, is at the very bottom of the bag, there was like all like the orange pistils had broken off. And so we took just that bottom pistils of it and put it into a bowl, and we're like, this is amazing, man. It's just pistols. And we're like smoking it, thinking that it's actually doing something to us. It's really doing like nothing. And then I remember also pool hopping. we would go in the neighbor's backyard, just whatever backyards we could find a pool and jump in real quick, swim for a minute, and then go to the next pool. And so we were doing pool hopping and stuff like that. I don't really remember getting visuals that time. I think it was pretty mild because it was only 1 gram. I know the potency kind of varies, but yeah, that was the first time, and then there was just many other times after that. So, what was your first time, P?
I think it's interesting where I come from. Most parents feed their kids. I'm just curious how you made it out. Like, did you have to feed yourself? Anyways, I'm an asshole.
That's good.
The first
Canada's
time I
different
tried,
in America. Obviously.
Canada's different. Yeah, we feed them till they're like 35, and then we put them on underneath the government. It's up to the government to raise them after that. The first time I tried it, it was at a buddy's place. And it's funny because we were actually at like a family reunion for his family, and his cousin brought a big bag of them, and I'd never had them before. And I just remember like I had visuals, man, 100%, because we did them. It was pitch black outside, and we did them outside in the woods. What a great first time! I'm telling you, the things I saw were incredible. But it was always positive. I'd never had a negative trip until I was much older, and I feel like once your mental state once you have responsibilities and obligations
Stress.
and debt and relationship, that's when it's like bad trips start to happen. Because if you're in a bad mental state before you dose, it's gonna carry on and in fact amplify that negativity. And I think that's part of what makes the experience so enlightening, is that if you go in with the right mindset, now we can't always be positive, but if you go in being positive and more importantly surrounding yourself with good quality people, because that's huge, you can really get something out of the experience that's going to help you long term, whether that's dealing with depression, whether that, for me in particular, I had to have the experience to really understand that in my life I had a lot of negative actors, a lot of friends or associates that were just not the best influences. And it was a lot easier for me once I had this aha moment that, oh shit, I'm surrounded by a bunch of assholes. Like I don't have any friends, you know, and that's when I realized I need to start making better relationships and better friendships. And it took that experience to like remove myself from the scenario or from the experience to look down and be like, God, if I was that guy, I'd sure hate to be him. But that was me. I was literally pointing at me, like that was me. So yeah. That those experiences, like you kind of said, didn't happen until much later because I feel like that's when the negative thoughts really were able to impact.
I feel like it's as your brain matures more and it starts to become wired different, and you start to think differently. And especially the more you do this certain substance, the more your brain is gonna react differently, so to speak. And there's different strains, there different would they be cultivars? Different strains, actually. I don't know. Because you've got different types that are going to give you slightly different reactions also. And when I was young, I just took whatever. I took whatever, and it didn't matter. It was just cool. Take them. And, I got an interesting story. And it's the story that shaped me as a person, I really feel. One night, I was on probation still, and I know I had court coming up, and I was dirty as hell for smoking. I was like, man, I'm going to drop dirty. I know I'm going to. I was so stressed out. And I didn't want to smoke anymore that night. Don't know why I even cared because I was already dirty. We decided we should go get some organics, man. Let's fucking shroom out tonight. Sounded good, right? It's a totally good idea. First, well, we got 3.5 each, and like the most I've ever done at the time was 2 G's. So we took those, and I didn't feel anything for like an hour. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, you got ripped off. So we went to another person and went and got another 3.5 of different ones that somebody grew themselves, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to be any good. When we took them, and on the way there, before we even took them, I started feeling a little tingling and a little bit of like the yawning was kicking in, the pre-yawns. If anybody's got the experience, you kind of get those, and like a little tingling in my knees and my elbows. And I'm like, I'm good. It was only like 10 minutes after we ate the others that it really hit me from the first amount. And me and 2 of my buddies were gone. And I was so stressed because I was already knowing I was going to go to juvie. I'm like, this is going to happen. It's bound to happen. So I'm like, fuck it. We should just smoke. Let's smoke too. So we got just totally baked. Hours pass, like hours, and like blackout moments or something. I don't know. I got super lit. We're all in separate areas, and I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, man, I need to quit kicking it with like these bum ass loser people. I had an epiphany like P did. It's like, I got to get away from these types of cats. And like, even the people I was with, minutes later, my buddy who RIP to him, he was not a great guy, but you've heard stories about him before. He comes in and he's like, dude, you know what I was just thinking? We need to quit hanging out with all these bums we've been kicking it with, dude. Like, they're just bad for us. I'm like, what? I was thinking the same thing. And my buddy Zach, we thought he left. We didn't know. And he comes in and his face is all big. He's like, dude, I just had like a spiritual, mental fucking manifestation moment. He was like, I'm done kicking it with that whole crew we kicked it with, bro. Like, I'm done with all these guys. I'm like, whoa, you're on the same frequencies. Like, we're all thinking the same shit. We decide to go outside and smoke more, and we're walking down the center of the street in the suburbs, total like nice neighborhood, talking to ourselves about our lives and what we should do, and like loud as shit, smoking our own blunts, laughing like a crazy person, completely crazy person. It's like 8 grams deep, ballpark, and these were good too. The second batch wasn't as good, but the first batch was good, and we were so annihilated. I ended up walking like 10 or 11 miles home, separated from these guys, and I lived in the country type area. I mean, far as shit. Shoes are busted, gone. My mom sees me there. She's like, what are you doing home? I'm like, I'm like, literally made no fucking sense, like a crazy person. I didn't recall the conversation or anything. Just gone. But ever since that day, I've stopped kicking it with this whole group of people. Even those guys, I didn't hang out with them. I stopped being such a bully asshole. I changed my whole mentality from that night of self-abuse and analyzing everything. It was weird, man. It was such a deep night, and like I never will forget it. I feel like it shaped me into the person I am today. It's crazy.
That's wild. I kind of went over a similar thing to what you have in the sense where I just had to get away. So I ended up, doing it at a party, and 30 minutes in, I get the tinglies, get the little gigglies starting, right, and then like an hour into it, I was just gone. Like I could not be at this party. Just a lot of people. Like I just wanted to be by myself. So I ended up leaving there, and probably shouldn't have left there. Allegedly I was driving. Allegedly it was like night vision, like legit night vision. Like you see the green screen, a manual transmission. Not even sure driving right. It wasn't very good, but I ended up back at my house safely, thankfully. and was just by myself. But I did actually have I called my neighbor over and had him swing by. It's like, man, you're all messed up, dude. Blah, blah, blah. So like we were just sitting there hanging out for hours and hours, and then yeah, continued on. But like I totally get that feeling to like you left. You know what I mean? Like you said, you got up there and was gone and actually walked 11 miles or whatever to get out of there and home somewhere safe. Same thing with me. Like I was at the party, so many people, more people were showing up. This is early in the night. I'm talking like 9 p.m. maybe. And that's when things are just getting started. You know what I mean? People are up usually till 2, 3, 4 a.m. And I'm out of there at 9 p.m. I'm just like gone home. Didn't want to be around anybody. Thick ass glass. They sent me over their 9.5-inch super slit donut dual arm recycler. And this dab rig is awesome. I love the functionality, and its small size makes this piece super easy to transport around. They have a huge selection of glass such as bubblers, bent necks, beakers, straight tubes, and so much more. Check out their website at thickassglass.com, and you can use the discount code THESTASH for 25% off any of their products.
Well, see, and like the time I had, I was getting visuals a lot too, where like, for me, it's like if you look through soapy bubbles and you kind of see like your reflection and it kind of like waves like that, or if you see what's called, people call them tracers, so any of the trippers may know. But if you move your hands like this and you'll see a delay almost, like your hand's still there, or if a girl's got like hair that is multicolored in any sort of way, it's just constantly moving and shit. Like I was tripping hard, dude, to the point where like I needed to go to sleep, but I couldn't because I had so much energy. I was thinking so much, but I couldn't be in this area anymore. I needed like, and I definitely, like Candyman Can over here on Twitch says, I think I experienced an ego death because like I hate egotistical people. Sometimes I may come off arrogant, but it's literally just confidence. I hate arrogance. If I ever come off arrogant, check me. Usually I'm just joking, like talking shit, but check me because I can't stand ego. And I think that that's really where the medicinal side of things, you can have fun and goof off and have crazy experiences and have cool visuals, but just like an ayahuasca trip, it's like it's supposed to give you an end result that'll change certain things in your brain, and it'll take it so you think a little differently. And I feel like because we haven't fully utilized all the areas of our brain fully, even though our brain does use more than what science originally said, I feel like we still don't get to it unless we do things like, frequent meditation or disconnecting from technology and from people on a regular basis, eat very, very healthy. Our pineal gland is not calcified, all these different things. It's tough to do that without some sort of substance. So a natural substance for me is the best way to do it. Like I'm a firm believer in microdosing. I do it daily, like literally small amounts usually, sometimes a little macro, but usually micro. Now, you guys ever experienced any microdosing at all?
Not not using mushrooms.
Oyster mushrooms.
Chris, go ahead. I've got something to follow. Go ahead. I got more. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, I have the microdosing, and small amounts. Is it like less than 0.1? I think. It's very, very small amounts, and like you start to feel the effects a little bit, but not really. But there's still something different about it. And tried it for several weeks in a row and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of reset my mind because you hear about the people microdosing, and just to reset their mind and to be able to have like a goal, like whether people want to be more focused on things, if people want to be more productive, I think there's like different goals for people doing microdosing and stuff. So mine was just kind of get more of a clear head, like recenter myself type thing. And I guess it was better. I don't know. I stopped doing it and have no desire to really go back to it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again.
At least you tried it. It's I don't. I suffer from an addictive personality, and I was addicted to some pretty heavy drugs for quite a long time, almost like 3 years, and that place that people search for when they microdose, or the zen that they try to bring upon themselves, or the clarity, as you mentioned, I found that a long time ago. I should be dead. like multiple times, and it's like I have to be careful on the not only the things that I do, but the things that I take as well. And I find that zen and that clarity in other ways. And that's where it's like I kind of want to preface everything we said with, it's like if you do suffer from addictions, it's like not every medication is right for you. You know what I mean? You have to kind of experiment and find what's right with you with the help of professionals. I highly recommend that, because without the help of professionals, you can get lost in some pretty dark places. But it's like I've got friends that microdose LSD, and they speak of, and like these are really very successful people, business owners. Like you have to justify this, because it's like when you think of someone
like stoners,
it's like, oh, it's just some guy on the street. No, these are fairly successful people. Excuse me. And they've got families and obligations like the rest of us. And when they speak of why they microdose, they speak of very same reasons. And it's a feeling that I feel like I've already had. I've already had this aha moment. I've seen myself from another place and like from a different perspective, and I criticize all the time because I'm fallible. I make mistakes all the time. And so at the end of the night, one of the things where it's important is to look at all the things you did right, but more importantly, look at all the things you did wrong. And that outer experience is something that has to happen regularly. And, some people are better at it than others. And I feel like since my experiences experimenting with drugs and using organics, and I stress that, and using organics, because it's organics that really allowed me to like realize how I was destroying my life in the first place to get me out, So, I feel like there's a time and a place, and that time and place can be either in space and time, or that can be within you, and it's a personal decision for you to make if it's something you're going to take on, and a serious one, but one that, I recommend. I don't think I did a study on my channel. Sorry to carry on so much, but I did a short on my channel that discussed how using organics is creating, not just repairing, but creating networks in the brain that weren't there before. And this is how people are getting over PTSD and high levels of anxiety, because they're creating these new pathways through their brain, and it literally allows them to see things they couldn't see before. So
yeah,
there's benefit.
And this is where the microdose is beneficial for someone who doesn't want to get totally inebriated or have those potentially out of body experiences and things. And a microdose is like 0.1, 0.15, very small. Your boy takes a little micro, more like a 0.5 to a 1 Gizo. It just depends. But when you do something enough, just like anything, same reason I could smoke an ounce in a day is because I've smoked for so long, so frequently, that my tolerance is a little higher. I'm more used to this feeling. I can control it more. So for organics, for me, a big reason why I'm into the Super Marios is because I definitely feel like I struggle with anxiety and overthinking and having a lack of control of where my mind goes sometimes. And whenever I have something like that, or I smoke a ton, it's like I can totally focus on whatever I want to focus on. I can decide, like I literally will sit in my head and be like, think of how this top was made. And I can focus on that shit for like 20 minutes versus stressing out about some random business thing or personal thing or family thing. But I can't do that totally stone cold sober for some reason. And it could just be the chemicals in my brain. It could be a lack of discipline. I don't really know what it is. But for me, using organics has definitely been beneficial, but not everybody has to do it so often. They could do, just like Pigeon said, like a one time that really did it for them. It was like, whoa, now it's just for fun. Like we'll have some on a Sunday, just kicking it, but it's like, it depends on the person. I feel like with anything, just like you see on a commercial for any medication from a doctor or pharmaceuticals, they'll be saying, if you've got this issue, make sure you talk to the doctor. And either way, talk to the doctor first, because everybody's a little different. And you could be very similar to the next person, but the way it affects one person versus another could be totally different. My uncle had the same ones I had recently, didn't feel anything. I'm like, what the fuck? I was on. Like, that's crazy. On my stream, you can see it. Like, but for him, didn't affect him. But he also takes medication. He's got anxiety medication he takes, and he also is a heavy drinker, and he's also has different chemicals. So everything will react differently. different variables, just like everything. So you can't just say, microdose or macrodose or take this kind or that. You got to try things or just sit on the sideline and just deal with whatever stress you have,
One time I smoked organics, and that was
really?
Probably pointless, right? Does that even do anything?
I don't know. Was it?
So we rolled it up into a blunt, passed it around. It was like super airy, and I don't know if I was already like feeling effects from taking it normally or what, but like it didn't feel like anything was even like coming into my lungs. It was really strange. And then I don't know if it affected me or not. It was weird. It was like 5 of us all passing the blizzy
You
around.
smoked fungus.
I don't know. Is that like a thing?
He's got a mushroom growing out from behind his ear.
Would that even done anything to me back then? I don't know.
Mushroom man.
Maybe, man.
Mention though.
I don't know.
No, it may as well.
Did
someone
you feel
will
like
ask
you got
that.
high? Did you feel like there was anything, or
Could be placebo.
I mean, this was literally when I was a teenager.
yesterday?
So we're talking
Literally this morning. So
I don't remember anything from that. Yeah,
but that was another night I remember seeing night vision. So it was GoldenEye. GoldenEye was, I think it was the video game. Somebody's playing the video game on
that's
TV.
how long ago it was.
And then like the screen was night vision. I'm like, is this the game, or is this what I'm seeing? And then apparently I was just seeing.
You were seeing night vision.
Apparently,
I love it.
I think
it worked.
That's crazy,
FTS
man.
does not condone any smoking of any organics, nor do we condone any illegal activity. Okay, straight kids, and I mean that
from
100%.
the attorney. Yeah, all Gucci, all Gucci.
It's like you talk about different chemicals, different experiences or emotions. It's all those things, man. And it's like everyone is built differently. That's the biggest thing. Everyone's built different. That's why some people need to use, Viagra, and some people don't. That's a horrible example. But I'm just thinking.
I mean, it kind of is the case.
That goes with any. That's like I have high cholesterol. Some people don't. Some people have to take medication. I don't have I don't have to take medication for my high cholesterol. I can just eat healthier and exercise. And it's like there's difference for everyone. And regardless of whether it's something that you need to do now, or maybe it's something you'll do later, or it's something you've done before. It's like there is no denying the benefit of using organics. And the thing is that there's more and more studies being released that are corroborating this. Well, cooperating. Sorry, that's corroborating this. So it's like, I have one that I can link in the chat. If you guys are watching on Twitch, we stream twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, twitch.tv/FromTheStash podcast, typically 2 p.m. Central Standard, 3 Eastern and 12 Pacific. A little bit early. I got some daddy duties later. But if you're watching on Twitch, you can help influence the conversation through the comments, and you can also join us for a toke session following every live recording. So if that's something you're interested in, come on over, twitch.tv/FromTheStash podcast. But the research there needs to be more research, in my opinion. There's just clearly not enough. And because the organics are scheduled as whatever they are in your country and my country and everyone else's country, they don't get the funding and the access to research that it so incredibly deserves. Because imagine if our troops, could come back, or that's who I think of the most who could benefit from like PTSD. Our troops could come back 100%. It could have access to a medication with that, the only I can't say the only side effects are, I've seen people running naked in the streets, but
but at a micro dose level, think about it. You can take, kids can get put on fucking Ritalin and Adderall. You take enough of those, you're gonna be zooted.
Yeah,
zooted.
I was on.
You know what I'm saying? It's poor man's meth. But something like this, why couldn't this be used for even children who struggle with serious, brain trauma, or who've been abused, who've gone through crazy stuff? Like, it just is about the science that needs to back this. And because this isn't as profitable for the government, they're not on it. It's just what it is. It's being decriminalized. And you got places like where was it? Not British Columbia, Vancouver. Yeah, Vancouver. We're looking at, there was a bunch of shops. They've got dispensaries.
Yeah.
That are literally shroom dispensaries, and that's all that they're and the cops don't even care, because they're like, we're more worried about organized crime and big things. Like, this is not doing anything to anybody. We don't care. Right. That's what a normal human being should think. But
that's literally, and that's
our
how
government doesn't care about us enough.
Legalization started. You know what I mean? Like, you have little places that open up, start selling it kind of behind the counter, and then it opens up, and then you've got dispensaries, and they're all technically illegal, but they're happening. And then the next thing you know, you've got medical. There has been legislation actually in regards to. I believe there's states that are pushing legislation for organic medical use.
Oregon was one, I believe, that they
And I know
they
Canada's
pushed it
doing the
there.
same thing.
Yeah.
So it's
and
like
then
we are on the cusp of
Well-
seeing a change.
they
Go ahead.
decriminalized it in Detroit, but that's another step in not regulating it and not getting medicinal testing, like we talked about before. And it sounds good on paper, like cool, you're not going to go to fucking prison
It does.
for it.
The amount of
know.
people, yeah, it's a shrew, like it's a Trojan horse decriminalization. It on the outside it looks like one thing. It looks like, oh yes. But on the other, it's still illegal, and there's just nothing good on the inside, But because, that's a whole other conversation for another time. One that we've kind of hashed out a couple times, but I do believe we're on the cusp, and it's a good time for organics.
Facts. And I think we could get into another conversation more about how psychedelics even help the brain. We should get a real expert on this subject to come in and talk.
Totally
and get
agree.
down a little bit more. Because
And I'm
myself,
sure
I've
that-
dabbled, other than the damn tizzles and the ayahuasca, I've pretty much done majority of these things. So it's allegedly.
I
And
haven't
so I
done
like to have
I
these
haven't done it either.
conversations.
That ayahuasca, that's the chew one,
No.
right?
I think you can make a tea out of it. It's the
Oh.
only one I haven't gotten into.
I've never
like
tried it either. I've
peyote,
never tried.
fucking
The list is
Devil's
long.
Angel's
My
Trumpet,
list is
fucking-
long.
Yeah, a lot of
And it all
interesting-
starts with fucking Ritalin, man. To be honest with you, if you want to get down to the core of it, it's like that's where it started. That's where it started.
My cousin
you
got
know?
put on it in second grade. He got put on Ritalin. Second grade, man.
That's
crazy.
crazy. You're not even a kid yet.
Second
Jesus, you're still
grade.
a
And you know
baby.
who recommended it? His teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was just like an immediate doctor's like, okay.
Yep. Sure.
What
And that's
the fuck?
we didn't really talk on this one. Something we can dive into a little bit more later. But you can find a doctor that's in support of this. You know what I mean? You will have to do a little bit of homework. It's not obvious. You can't just go to your general practitioner and say, "Hey, looking at getting into organics. Can you help me?" Or I heard from these Three Stooges on this episode of the Stash Show that you can use it for this, this, and this. You can't. Well, you can start. Don't get me wrong, but chances are that first one's not gonna help you. There are resources to getting that kind of help. And I wish maybe by the time we're watching this on YouTube, you know what, we're going to make sure that we've got a link not only to maybe an addictions service, but also to a known resource that can kind of help with organics. We will find something without a doubt.
Yeah, something to educate and help, and maybe some sort of group of educated people, because we just are talking from experience. We're not experts in this field. It's literally just our experience, and we'd like to talk, as you may know. But boys, I think that was a great epi. I've got a crusty ass Dutch here to sesh with you guys afterwards. So I figure, if you're on YouTube, you're listening on any audio platforms, big shout out to you. Appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, show some love. If you're over here on Twitch, stick around, because we are going to smoke this crusty sumbitch. And for the rest of you, much love.
Chris, you had something?
One last thing would be, if any of you want to learn more about it, a good documentary, and I think maybe you guys might have seen this, Fantastic Fungi. That's a really good one. Highly recommended. It's on Netflix right now, and I would rewatch it. It was that good. Definitely talks about the gourmets. It talks about, lion's mane. I think it talks about like pink oysters, but it talks about the non-gourmets as well. And the time lapses on there are just incredible, seeing these things grow. So highly recommend Fantastic Fungi. Check that out.
Nice. Good call. Good call. All right. It's your boy Rob from CLtv and a bunch of other random fucking shows. Mr. Grow It, Pigeon 420. Take it easy, everybody.